next time.
All right, thank you all for being here, and thank you to Timberline for hosting us. I am Congresswoman Dexter, and welcome to Timberline Lodge with the most beautiful scenery behind me. I am a mother, a physician, and very proud to represent this district, which includes the iconic Mount Hood. Tomorrow, with colleagues, I will be embarking on a journey many Oregonians have enjoyed before. The iconic Timberline Trail, hiking around the circumference of Mount Hood, a mountain loved and treasured by every Oregonian. This trek is different than those I've undertaken before. It's a fact-finding mission, and it's actually work, which is phenomenal, aimed at really understanding and addressing a cascade of issues that we are facing across our communities. The protection of public lands, wildfire preparedness, our forest health, elevating tribal partnerships, and much more. 8 months into my term as a member, I very much understand one simple truth. You can't legislate from behind a desk. To make informed and effective policy decisions on wildfire preparedness, the things we were just speaking of, you have to walk the trails, you have to walk in people's shoes, you have to understand the frontline challenges that people are facing every day. And that's why I'm undertaking a trek similar to that which Representatives Blumenauer and Walden took 20 years ago to the month. Blumenauer and Walden showed that even in the face of political disagreement and philosophical differences, we can come together to learn from each other and craft meaningful legislation that puts the interests of Mount Hood and Oregonians first. We still have work to do though. Much has changed in the last 2 decades, whether it's the growing climate crisis, growing partisan divides, or increased recreational use. But one thing remains the same, that Mount Hood is still beloved to Oregonians. It's a treasured place and it's worthy of our steadfast protection. Throughout this fact-finding mission with my colleagues, I will be meeting with and hearing from a range of people, from tribal leaders, advocates, public servants, policymakers, conservationists, and recreationists, just as Representative Blumenauer did. This undertaking is also deeply personal. As a working class kid, we didn't have much money, but we did go camping. We hiked, we fished, we were outdoors. It instills not just awe and an appreciation for the forests and the areas around us, but it instills a love of land that I carry with me to Congress every day, and I certainly carry Oregon with me in DC. When I grew up to be a physician specializing in caring for people with lung disease, it is all the more important to understand not just protecting this area, but people's health. I mean, look, you can see that today the air quality index is not where it should be. We are going to be challenged ourselves, healthy, other young people, not myself, breathing in smoky air. And that limits everyone's ability to enjoy the outdoors, and especially those with chronic diseases. Now, as a member of Congress serving on the House Natural Resources Subcommittee on Oversight and Investigations, I'm using my background as that working class kid who loves the outdoors, as a physician who understands the impact of adverse environmental change on our patients, and as an advocate for Oregon. We need to make real change. We have to do better. And that will begin with this hike. I'm also pleased that today's press conference marks the unveiling of an art display created by an Indigenous artist, Steph Littlebird, and Portland resident, Melissa Salazar. That display, which we will learn more about shortly, is a reminder of just how much public lands mean to all of us and the importance of speaking out to protect our treasured places. I often say stay loud to our community, and that's not by accident. I believe that it's only by being curious, staying loud, and coming together that we are going to make a difference. I'm excited to learn more about the art display. I'm certainly excited to hear words from our other speakers. And I'm eager to take your questions and hopefully share my findings with you after we return. This is not just emblematic of my love and commitment to Mount Hood, but my commitment to centering constituent voices in the policy that we as a team move forward. And so thank you. And now I am extremely honored and privileged to introduce Congressman Earl Blumenauer, in whose footsteps I will literally and figuratively be moving in the coming days.
Thank you very much, Thanks for the invitation, allowing me to hang out with you a little bit. And remember, one of the highlights for me of my 28 years in Congress was an opportunity to literally have a meeting on the move, a hearing on the move with my former colleague, Greg Walden, where we spent 3 days having a series of individual hearings with Native Americans, with Forest Service employees. We had people, advocates who showed up and spent time with us. It was a remarkable experience, and it actually fell on my birthday. And a number of my friends ended up hiking with a gourmet dinner that I had on the trail. I hope
Sounds
able to do something like that. It was a highlight in terms of the commitment we all have to Mount Hood. You know, as a native Oregonian and somebody who literally grew up in the shadow, it was a symbol of what brought us together and continues to bring us together. We are in danger of loving the mountain to death. We have, 4 or 5 million people within a 4-hour ride of Mount Hood. Challenges, particularly during winter, we have transportation challenges, opportunities to be able in these perilous times with scarce resources to try and make sure we invest. For me, this hike around the mountain was an opportunity to be able to engage people, literally to look and feel the experience. You can't totally legislate something from a map. As you well know, being here, seeing it, being able to work with the people who are part of the story, protecting the mountain, where it is now and where it's going, makes a huge difference. I'm honored that you will allow me to crash your press conference. I brought with me a memento of Greg and I hiking around Mount Hood, bringing us closer together. Staff and family were a part of that effort. And it made it real in a very positive sense. And ever since then, the work we did, we called them Mount Hood Summits. It was an area for people to exchange ideas, make progress, and work on legislation. This experience made more real. I look forward to the outcome of your experience on your hike and the work that you and your great team are doing to protect the mountain you love. Thank you very much.
Next, I'm very excited to welcome Brittany Van Critters. And sitters, oh my God, it's okay. So sorry, life it's in here. I'm thinking of critters literally. Okay. Political and organizing director at OLCB. Thank you, Stitch. I'm so sorry. It's okay. Honestly, I should just change that. I first want to say thank you to Congressman Blumenauer for Blumenauer for his long legacy of protecting our environment, and to Congresswoman Dexter for all her work in continuing that legacy. It's no secret that the Trump administration is just wreaking havoc on our climate, our clean air and water, and on our public lands. We slashed funding and fired staff at the EPA and the National Park Service. He's rolling back our bedrock environmental protections. His drill baby drill policy on our public lands is in full swing. His DOJ has even said that presidents can undo established national monuments. So even our chair of the public lands, like Cascade Siskiyou National Monument and the Jumping Fossil Beds, are at risk. And he even tried to work with congressional Republicans to sell off our public lands in their so-called Big Beautiful Bill. So it just the attacks keep coming, and all the while the climate crisis just wages on, causing hotter, more frequent, and more intense wildfires, drought, floods, and extreme temperatures. All of which take a huge effect on our communities and our public lands like Mountain National Forest. And protecting the environment, as they both spoke to already, is a fundamental Oregon value. We're a state that loves the outdoors, hiking, camping, fishing, hunting, and everything in between. It's a big reason why so many of us live here and call Oregon. And just last year, OLCB conducted some polling, and it's just one poll after many others that show how important public lands are to Oregonians. Our poll showed that 92% of all Oregonians believe it's important for Congress to protect wildlife and their habitats, and 81% believe it's important for Congress to protect our natural lands from industrial development. So across party lines, across geography, across ages, Oregonians can agree on protecting nature. And OLCB is here, standing with our partners and Congressman Dexter, to send a clear message that people and public lands will always come before profit. Our public lands are not for sale, and our public lands belong in the public's hands. To help bring awareness to the dangers that our public lands are facing and the work that we're all doing to protect them, our national partner LCB has partnered with local artists like Mr. Salazar to create pop-up art installations across the country. Melissa is an educator, artist, and videographer based in Portland. She's the production art facilitator at Open Signal Portland Community Media, where she teaches community members the process of video production. And she's also a community leader, serving on boards, promoting youth leadership, and supporting others through peer-to-peer mentoring. So without further ado, I'll invite Melissa Salazar.
It's okay. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for having me here today. I'm representing not just myself, but also Steph Littleberg, who is a friend and a collaborator. Over the years, we have had many talks about public lands as being stewards within our own community of land and teaching youth about being connected with the land and the importance, not just, for your mental health, but just physically going out and appreciating what the public lands have to offer. So when approached to ask about collaborating with Steph again, I was like, sure, let's do this, because just hearing, just hearing the drive that everyone has to, try their hardest to preserve public lands inspired me. And as someone who also benefits because I live with a congenital heart disease, and I come out and enjoy the forest to get away from the many things that surround, thoughts from dealing with a disease like that, and as well as taking my mentorship into the forest. So for adolescent youth who normally wouldn't have the opportunity to be out in the forest, I've been able to do that for many years and just promote a sense of community when they're not around the stigmas of what adolescents should be. There are many benefits to preserving our public lands, and the biggest one is physical and mental health. So thank y'all for allowing me to be a part of this and contributing my skill set as an artist and honestly a love in the public. Thank you.
So certainly welcome questions if anyone has any. David, you can go first for a question. Oh, sorry, Justin, I'm so sorry.
Justin Anders. I'm curious, what positive things do you see happening in the Mount Hood area in regards to, clean air, forest, mitigating those cut jobs, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think we are all under tremendous strain with this administration's attack on public servants, civil servants. Our forestry service is really understaffed and continuing to try to deal with that. One thing that gives me hope and certainly inspires me, we just came from a roundtable down in government camp where we had a broad-based group of folks who all have a shared vision for how we bring people into the mountains to the resources that we all would love to be able to share, but share in a sustainable way. And folks really have unity around that. So I think my goal now is to continue and do what we can to advocate for the resources that we need. But people want to protect this area. People don't want it to become Colorado where people are stuck in traffic for hours to get to and from ski areas. I think we see what others have done differently than we would like to have happen here, and they're willing to lean in and proactively work together. So really grateful for Timberline's engagement in that, as well as like many groups across this region. So that absolutely gives me inspiration.
What steps do you think should be taken to counteract the job loss in the local area as a result of those forest department layoffs?
Hey, we gotta fight back for the staff that we need. The trails are not getting the attention they deserve. Our forests don't have the observation and the staff needed. Crater Lake has lost biologists. You know, we've got the Benzama newt that is literally dying in front of our face, and we don't have the biologists trying, you know, to save it. So now the zoo is working on that. You know, we've got way too many barriers to doing the right thing because of the staffing cuts. So my job is to advocate for a change and to work with my colleagues across the aisle to see the adverse impacts as a result of this extraordinarily reckless decision making that this administration has taken.
Thank
you.
Yeah. Congresswoman, I was wondering if you have any specifics that you've seen talking to folks at the roundtable earlier today of how the cuts have impacted like the tourist experience, the recreation experience here on Mount Hood and in the National Forest here.
Yeah, this roundtable that we had today specifically was more about development, workforce housing, and transportation issues and whatnot in the area. So I haven't spoken to the Forest Service leaders directly in the last few weeks, certainly earlier actually it was about 4 months ago, spoke at some length before we really knew what was going to happen. So I'm looking forward to those conversations on the trail in the coming days, hearing about what really is happening, you know, how we're going to prepare for what is inevitably a risk of wildfire scenario.
And then I know there's been a lot of discussion about, you know, the things that the Trump administration has done that are leading to possible problems with wildfire resilience, but the president has also said that he wants to stop fires. Where is there a Venn diagram of space between what Democrats want to accomplish, what Oregonians want to accomplish, and what the president has said his goals are that, you know, you guys can come together to protect places like this?
Yeah, I think there are some good opportunities for alignment. You know, I think our forest management practices haven't been spot on in the decades of fire. So we know where the tribes have managed the forest in this region that our wolves are actually migrating through those areas preferentially. So we know that there is thick floor coverage and growth that could be with prescribed fire and other things better managed, and we haven't done. Certainly timber is an issue that Oregonians care deeply about. And our rural schools and communities are really struggling right now. And that is absolutely at risk because this administration that impacts cliff fence as much as it impacts, you know, people in baggage and Alaska and other places. Like we need to work on how are we going to sustainably use resources that we have and make sure that we protect them for generations to come. And you know, there's not a lot that has as much outrage as threatening to sell off public lands. So we know that the public cares about this and we need to work. Yeah.
We have an online question from Rose at Salem Statesman Journal. What made you decide to hike the Timberline Trail as a vehicle to make progress and spread this message?
Yeah, number one, like Timberline Trail is a quintessential, like iconic hike. And so part of this is to attract attention to the issue, like being out there with my team and being out there with advocates, modeling what Representatives Walden and Blumenauer did 20 years ago, like really having those on the move hearings, hearing about it from the people who care about it here. And I love to hike. I love to be outdoors. I want to show Oregonians that I too care about this place. And so I think you got to walk the talk, and being out there, I think matters to people, and showing that, I can see for myself where the trees are covering the trail, or whether or not, the Forest Service has who they need to manage this effectively. It's really important to me to be someone who is approachable and accessible. So this is a great way to start that.
Wonderful. She had a follow-up question. How do you think getting out there and engaging with people helps up the lands?
Number one, I can point to this hike and will inevitably for months or years to come, talking about what we saw, who we talked to, and why that matters for whichever bill I'm bringing to the floor, bringing pictures as Congressman Blumenauer did, showing that I was out there and talking about it. And then I met with people front and center, like that matters. So I think that's the first part. And again, the policy comes from the people. My job is to represent people's interests. And so if I'm not on the ground talking to folks, then, who am I really serving?
Great. Those are the last of the online questions. Natalie, Justin, and let's thank you.
And certainly, if anyone wants to hear about the artist installation, like it's beautiful, it's right out here. I hope folks will take photos and share it out. It's a fun, beautiful exhibit. So thank you. So other questions? Thank you so much for being here. Really, it means a lot. I know it's a trek, literally. So glad you guys also.